Hey everybody, it's Erin Reed from Erin Reed Makes, and today I'm going to show you 7 different slimline card designs. Some are interactive, some are just straight designs, but they're all awesome, including some little lift the flap ones. So join me, and I'm going to take you through how to make each one of these 7 cards. Let's get started. The first card we're going to do is this large insert flap that we're going to lift. So it's a lift the flap with a very large insert. You could turn the card the other way and have the flap be raised. It works both ways. So the first step for this is you're going to want to have the top card insert. We'll build the card after we make the lifting flap part, and you score at 0.25, so at 1/4 of an inch. So go ahead and score at 1/4 of an inch. I always use my paper trimmer as my scoring mat, and then I just stole a little scoring tool from another thing a long time ago. The next thing is you are going to start cutting. So you're only going to score one end. So I take my trimmer, and because this is 8 inches, I'm going to set this at 7 3/4, and I cut right at this quarter mark. So I set my paper at the quarter, I line this up at 7 3/4, and I cut down to that quarter mark. I flip my paper over, and I do the same thing. Line this up at the 1/4 inch, pop it down, this is already at the 1/4 inch, and I cut all the way up to 7 3/4. So basically I'm making a little border going all the way around that is 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going on the last side, and I set this at 1/4 of an inch, and I bring this down, and because the height of this is 3 inches, I set my cut tool to be at 2 3/4, and I cut down to 1/4 of an inch. So now I have this little flap here that can lift up, and I just want to really secure this piece right here. Make sure this folds, and I'm going to do it both directions just to make sure that fold and that crease is really good. And then if you've got a pattern paper, just decide what piece you want to have on top or what piece you want to have on the bottom. So solid colored paper, does not matter. So I have a basic slimline card that I folded in half. So now the measurements are 3.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to put down a mat. As always, all dimensions for every single one of the cards we're doing, if they're like a fancy fold or a fun fold or a lifting flap, will be down in the information section. So now it's time to place our flap onto the card. For this card, I'm not going to elevate it. I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive going all the way around. So all I've done is I've added adhesive going all the way around the frame, including this portion of the card, and then line this up and secure this down. So you can have your card be nice and flat, and then it's just lifting the flap. And whatever is below is what you get to see. For my 2 example cards, I actually added foam adhesive going all the way around the border. So there's a little bit of an elevation in the card. So it's kind of like this fun little dimensional piece to it. You don't have to do that part where you elevate it if you just want to do a giant lift the flap. Let's go into the next card. This next set of cards is so much fun because this is a triple lift the flap. There's 3 separate flaps that you could have that you're opening that you go vertical, or you could technically flip the card and you can have it open on the side. It just depends on the sentiments and which direction you want to have your card. Again, start with your standard slimline card shape, fold it in half to create your first crease. I always just fold, if it's a fold in half, I just do it with my hand. I don't do any kind of special scoring. So open your card back up, and again, your paper trimmer is going to be your best friend here. You're going to want to cut at 2 13/16. And just so you heads up, in an inch, there is 16/16 in there. So the 13 is just down a little bit. Just count how many tick marks. So that's like 3 tick marks down. And go ahead and set your trimmer right at the 3.5 mark and go all the way down to the bottom. The second cut comes at 15/16. So it's just a little bit more than the other one. And again, cut all the way up to 3.5. So you have this little flap. Repeat and do the exact same thing on the other side. So flip your card over and do your first cut at 13/16. Cut from 3.5 all the way down, and then move it up to 15/16 and cut again to the 3.5. So you don't have to worry about resetting your paper trimmer. Just cut down once and then make sure you cut up to the same section. And I don't bother with my paper trimmer to cut these little bitty sections right here. I'll just come in with my scissors and just do a little snippy snip and cut right along there. And then now you have these 3 separate flaps you can lift up independently. It's really awesome. Again, don't forget, all measurements are down in the information section. Add adhesive to the insert. This particular insert fits the entire size of the base of the card. So this is a full 8.5 by 3.5. So it goes all the way flush, because you're gonna see a tiny bit of that insert through your card. Now you could totally skip that step. You don't have to have it. So I just personally like having that little bit of extra color pop through, but you don't have to do that. You could leave it plain. So I like being able to see everything pop through. So you can open from that direction. You could have your card open this way, or you can have it open from the top, whatever works for you. Now I have chosen to add mats to all my cards, and then when you open it up, there's another mat underneath. But really truly, whatever you want to place on the tops, the bottoms, you can have sentiments, you can have pictures, you can have large stamps. It all works and it looks super, super cute. All right, let's go to the next card. This next card opens up a little differently. This is a Gatefold pop-up card. It is so much fun. So it has these little pop-up floating pieces that are inside, and the card itself is a Gatefold, which is just really cool. Now, there's two ways to learn how to fold this card. The first way is, and I'm gonna show you both just to make like super, super simple. Take your card, fold it in half as if you're gonna do any standard slimline card, and then open it up, and then take each of your pieces and fold to the crease. And so this is like the easy way if you don't have any kind of scoring tools or anything, or you just want to speed up the process, whatever works for you. And this is just a fun and easy way to make a gatefold without having to have a scoring tool. So you could completely make a card that is a gatefold that opens up this way, or that opens up this way without needing to have any kind of scoring tool. If scoring is your jam and that's what you want to do, take your standard Slimline Card Base, which is 8.5 by 7. Score your first score at 1 3/4. Make sure your paper doesn't move on you like mine just did. So I'll just be careful not to fold on the wrong score mark. And keep in mind, I am scoring, and this side is my 7-inch. So I'm up 8.5. Flip it over and score again at 1 3/4. Make sure you're nice and flush. And score straight. I'm gonna leave my scoring tool off to the side because we do need to score one more piece of this card, and then just fold in these two flaps. I'm just gonna put this gatefold card off to the side real fast. Now we're gonna go ahead and score our two insert pieces that are gonna make the hinging and the flap mechanism. So this piece right here, which there's two identical, these are 5 1/4 inches by 1 inch. And you're gonna do 3 score marks. You're gonna score at 1 inch, you're gonna score at 2 inches, and you're gonna score at 4 1/4 inches. So you have 1, 2, 4 1/4. Do that for both of the sections. Place your mat down first if you want to have a mat on the inside of your card. So if you don't want to have a mat, then skip that step, totally cool. When you're ready to build your floating pieces, what you're gonna wanna do is you place your part after I've gone through and I've really done all the manipulation and folded back and forth on all those square marks. I take the singular side square and I place this flush to my card. Now, where you place this up or down depends on how big the piece is that you're gonna wanna have placed, or that you're gonna wanna have floating and pop up. So if I place this piece way up here, this is gonna stick out of my card. I don't want that. So I'm gonna place it down here. You also wanna keep in mind, you might wanna have your other floating piece in hand if you're gonna do more than one floating. And I don't wanna have these get too close to where they're overlapping. So where these are placed is pretty important. I like having them so there's a little bit of room kind of in between so I can put a sentiment in the middle. Take your adhesive, place a little bit of adhesive right on that square. Place that square, so this is that little singular flap right here, flush against the piece, and go ahead and close down that flap right there. So now this piece is attached. So once you have this piece attached, you open up your card, you fold it down, and we're gonna add adhesive to the very last square right here. So go ahead and use a little bit of adhesive only on that last square. And then you're gonna fold that over and tuck that down, just like that. And so then now you have this little hinge mechanism right here. Super simple. Let's repeat the other side. Place your adhesive on the singular square, place that flush up against where that hinging mark is, lay it nice and flat, fold your flap over, and now it's attached. Place that piece down flat, add adhesive to the last square, and then tuck that last square in place. Now take your 2 squares, or it could be ovals, stars, whatever piece you want to have pop up and float, and place adhesive on these 2 lines right there. And go ahead and place in. I would suggest have whatever it is you want to have on this piece completely finished before you glue this down, just so that you're facing everything the right direction. So if you have words, the words are going the right orientation. And then here is the mechanism. And the more you open and close it, the easier it's gonna get and look super cute. Again, all measurements are down below, but this piece can go, this is about the max size square that you're gonna wanna have. A 2.5 inch square, but you could go smaller with this. This is about the max size just because of the closing. If you notice, it's already like just barely fitting as I close that. So 2, 2.25, all would be fine. You could totally leave your card as a gatefold, but I like adding a little element on the front as kind of like a closing piece. Just be careful, you only add adhesive to the one side. So I'm gonna place adhesive just on the top and then stick this down. Or you can place it just on the bottom. So your card could therefore open vertically. You could go either direction with it vertically. Your card can open up top, or you could even have your card so that it pulls down. It really doesn't matter, just make sure your words are orientated the correct direction. So mine is an opening vertically card where I have a front with a nice big letterful thankful on the front, and then you open it up, and then I have my elements on the inside. And so here they are, really cutie, floaty elements. I absolutely love that. And then it closes back up, and it's just fun. If you wanted to add these panels right here underneath, make sure you add those panels first before you add this front rectangular piece. All right, this next card is so much fun because it has these couple little flaps. You could do every single one of these as a flap if you wanted to, and it's a mosaic on the front. So it's a great way to use up your scraps. And then the whole thing fits on a regular size slimline card. You could also do this card going vertically if you wanted to, or this way if you wanted to, and your flaps could open up to the side. Totally up to you. All right, let's build this one. We have a standard slimline card. Fold this card in half and then just stick down your mat. Now I've gone through, and just to show this card as a reference, I've gone through and I have pre-measured all my little elements here ahead of time. And again, all measurements are down below. So I'm gonna start building from the left to the right because it just makes sense as you're building all of it. And I've given enough space around every single one of these elements to give a little bit more room. So what you're gonna wanna do is this is my first element, this is my first flap piece that I'm lifting up. So I'm gonna place this down, and then you're gonna stick that in place. And what I like to do when I'm building these cards is I will go through, and I decided to show you how to do the flaps in one color and then just the straight elements or just the stick down elements in a different color, just for comparison. So I will lay everything down to make sure I put things in the correct places first before I do any gluing to make sure I don't have them misaligned. There we go. And then my last little flap here, so you just fold them in half. It's like a little mini card that you're placing on the front of your card. And so they all just fit nicely in place, just like that. Super simple. I've given the measurements for every single one of these, including with this if you want this as a flap or without a flap. It's your call because this is just a square on top if you want that. If you want to change the sizes of any of these, totally cool. You could make it like this could be one piece, so you just add these dimensions together, or you can come up with your own design if you want to. So the last step is just taking all of these little elements and then just gluing them in place. And don't forget, when you are doing some of these, open the flap and don't forget to put something fun on the inside of your flaps. All right, I'm gonna glue the rest of these down. So here is a mosaic lift a flap. Again, you can have it going horizontally, or you can change the card and you can have it going vertically. It really is however you want to build it. And then it all opens up and you can have a fun sentiment on the inside. I just think these cards are super cute because you can have an outside sentiment and then an inside stamp or figure. So it's, again, a great way to use up your scraps. All right, let's do the next card. All right, for this next card, I don't have any straight dimensions to give you because this is just building a scene. So it's your standard straightforward card, and when you're building a scene, you gotta think about all your fun elements. This is where you can start doing some of your die cuts and your stamps, and this is just a fun little winter scene that I've done. So this just creates a nice long horizontal, think of it like a Polaroid picture that you can then build, and so scene pictures for Slimline cards are fantastic. This next pair of cards is also a super simple, so again, I did not give you the dimensions for this. This is just showing that you can add an element like a shaker element to the side and all those little project life cards. So you can take a square project life, a rectangular project life, or a shaker element, and you can turn them to be horizontal or vertical on your Slimline cards just to give you a little bit more fun. So it's a great way to use some of those cutout pieces that you might have in your stash and add them to your cards. And the last set of cards I'm going to show you their Slimline, last fun idea, is take a nice big bold stamp and then just doing some decorative stamps that you can color in or just leave on your own. So leaving it very, very simple, a very simplistic card. These happen to be mandala stamps, some I colored, this one I did not. A nice big sentiment that you can either print out or that you can stamp yourself, and then just doing a simple mat on the background. This design would also work really well with flowers. So you can have, if you have large flower stamps that you want to stamp, or any other kind of printable design that you want to play around with, this card is super simple for that. So thanks so much for joining me and learning how to make all these fun slimline cards. Some of these guys are interactive and some of them are just a simple design that you can take and kind of create design, you know, basic layouts with. But I hope I've given you a little inspiration about how you can make amazing slimline cards with products you probably already have at home. Links to all the videos and how I individually made all these cards are down in the information section, along with all of the supply links and dimensions, with the exception of this card because that video is coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye everybody.